So yesterday I made the video about Brittany and I told y'all, what my thoughts were about this involuntary psychiatric incarceration and all that. And a few of y'all actually left your own personal stories in the comments section. Hello, everybody. How are you doing on this fine Wednesday? I am doing quite well. I think I was a little under the weather yesterday, but maybe I had to do something with something else, like, I don't know, the moon or something. I don't know. Anyway, so yesterday's video, I talked a little bit about Britney Spears. I haven't really discussed Britney on this channel in a long time, which is weird because it's the reason I created a YouTube channel in the first place, to free Britney or whatever. And then, of course, Britney gets released from the conservatorship. We think our job is done. Come to find out, maybe our job is not done. There still seems to be a little bit of weird activity going on around Britney. But anyway, that's what yesterday's video was about, a little bit of updates on the Britney story. But within that story, I really like to focus on the involuntary psychiatric incarceration aspect of the whole thing. As I mentioned in yesterday's video, the probate courts were originally used, among other things, for enforcing the laws of slavery against human beings. So those courts are still up and running. Maybe they don't call it slavery anymore, but you still can assign the rights of another human being to another one. So that's what's going on in the probate courts in every state, not just California. If you follow my channel or watched almost any of my videos, you know that something that I care a lot about has to do with these laws that allow sometimes just straight up strangers, people who don't even really know you, to have you involuntarily, meaning against your will, admitted or committed into basically an asylum or a medical prison. It's basically what it is. And this happens for a lot of reasons, and this happens to a lot of people. Sometimes, like in the cases of celebrities or very rich people, like the CEO or the primary shareholder of Viacom a few years ago, they'll put them into a conservatorship in order to control the business aspects or the brand or the capitalistic aspects of that person's life. It allows the person or people in charge of the scheme to derive income or to acquire assets otherwise not earned from that rich person or that famous person. Sometimes it's because your child is out of control. So you'll have these parents call these troubled teen camps to literally kidnap your kid in the middle of the night. I guess it's not kidnapping under the law because you're doing it with that parent's consent, but I mean, it's kidnapping. Like Paris Hilton has described being taken in the middle of the night from her bed. She was sleeping and two men came in and stole her, and she went to this troubled teen camp. And even in her 30s now, she is still very traumatized from that. She might be in her 40s now. Sometimes people are taken away because they are being retaliated against. I know someone who was working for an employer and she was being horrendously bullied at work. I mean, it was so far beyond the scope of acceptable. It should have frankly been illegal what was happening to her. So she goes to HR at work and she says, "Hey, HR, I am being so horrendously bullied." Oh, and she had moved to a new state for this job specifically. And so she didn't have a lot of easy access out of the situation. So she goes to HR and she's like, "I'm being bullied. I am being harassed. I'm being gaslit. I'm being lied about. And it's to the point where I don't feel like I want to continue on and being alive," if you know what I mean. And HR, after my friend hangs up the phone with HR, instead of, like, I don't know, talking to the boss about the working conditions or something, goes straight to the boss and the person who was bullying my friend, told them about it, all the details. And then the boss calls the police and says, "Oh, my employee is SUI, dull, and y'all need to go do a wellness check on her." The cops show up to my friend's house, immediately handcuff her, strap her down to a stretcher, like a gurney thing or whatever, and take her off to the hospital against her will. They yelled at her, screamed at her, beat her up, took her to the hospital. All that because she called HR and said, "I'm experiencing problems." I know people who have been taken from university campuses, from graduate school and undergraduate, And a lot of times they use these tactics and these statutes against people who are not only in a crisis, mental health wise, but who are suffering with the issues of substance use and possibly abuse. So I know all this happens, and I've made probably at this point dozens, if not hundreds, of videos at least touching upon the subject or hinting at the subject. So yesterday I made the video about Brittany, and I told y'all, what my thoughts were about this involuntary psychiatric incarceration and all that. And a few of y'all actually left your own personal stories in the comments section. I don't have too many of them. I think there's 5 or 6, but I wanted to read this to y'all just to kind of demonstrate it ain't just celebrities that this happens to, and it ain't just grandmas and grandpas, and it ain't just people who don't happen to currently have a home to live in. It can happen to you. It can happen to you. You're watching my videos. So other people watching my videos, they left comments and they said it happened to them. So I will just give one brief disclaimer. I do not personally know any of the people who left these comments. We've never discussed this or spoken about it before. I'm literally just reading comments from the comments section. I've done no work to go and personally verify if this stuff happened or not, but I also have no reason to believe that people would just be making this stuff up. So take these with a grain of salt, but I personally believe the people who left these comments, but I didn't fact check or verify. So do with that information what you will. Let me move over so I can have my little spot. Ching. So let's get in. This is no particular order. This is just like whatever order they airdropped to my computer. So this one is from Lucky in Majash. Very cute little puppy as the profile picture. Okay, so Lucky says, I agree with what you're saying about these laws that take people's rights away. I got 5150 in California when I was depressed before, and it was a horrible experience. They take you to the nearest ER and take your clothes and phone and give you paper gowns and underwear. They lay you on a bed right in the walkway of the ER so they can watch every move you make. They have the brightest lights on 24/7. The doctor tried to keep me longer even though I was compliant, but I challenged the order and won. Okay, good. Good. When I challenged the order, the person representing the hospital read the original 5150 notes, and it was a bunch of untrue stuff. So this person, Lucky, is saying, okay, look, I got 5150 in California. Here's what they do. It's terrible. It's dehumanizing. It's humiliating. It's traumatizing. Not only that, I challenged the order and I got released from the hospital, but whenever I looked at the order, it was a lie. It was full of lies, is what this person's saying. So somebody had lied about this person, according to this comment, in order to get them 5150'd. This is not surprising, and I've seen it many times. They go on to say, it said I was defiant and refused to create a safety plan. I wasn't defiant. I just said I wanted to wait until after lunch to decide if I wanted to voluntarily hospitalize myself. They never asked me about a safety plan. When I told the judge this, he shook his head as if this sort of thing happened all the time. And it does. It happens all the damn time. I'm actually curious to know if this person went to the UCLA hospital, which 5150 is across the entire state of California. But I do know that this allegedly happens very often at the UCLA Medical Center and the Cedars-Sinai one, but worse at UCLA from rumors. This is rumors. I don't know. I've never been 5150 at the UCLA or anywhere. I've never been 5150. The doctor who signed the order never talked to me once. A nurse wrote the order and the doctor just signed it. I complained to the manager of the nurse who wrote those notes, and the nurse ended up apologizing to me. It was all really traumatic and not at all helpful. Okay, so to me personally, reading this, it's shocking in a way that it shocks my senses. Like it makes me mad and angry, and it makes me just outraged that someone's freedom can be taken with so little evidence, with so little diligence. This is absolutely not how it is supposed to be working in the United States of America. We have freedoms. We have unalienable rights. We have rights that are not supposed to ever be able to be taken from us. And they were taken from this person just without a doctor even looking at her. Now I'm not done with the comment yet. Y'all can see it's like, cut off, but Let's think about, what if that judge was in on the scheme? Or what if he just didn't really care? What if the judge was more inclined to believe medical staff than a person who they're being told is crazy? That happens all the time. So while my senses are shocked, and it's shocking because this is a violation and a deprivation of our rights, not just this person's rights, all of our rights. When this happens to somebody in this country, it happens to all of the people in this country because we have a system of common law, of precedent. Even though it's not common to use precedent in this type of cases, if it's par for the course in the day-to-day operations of a court, then that is what they're going to do. And so I know that is what happens. And so I'm not surprised to see this. I've seen it before. It does seem par for the course, but it still is enraging. You have this person who gets 5150'd, and at this point, it's literally a verb, 5150'd. It's something that happens to you, and people have talked about it. I mean, Kanye West has said it's one of the worst experiences he's ever had, and who knows? Maybe Kanye half-ass ended up how he is today because of this type of involuntary incarceration in a medical setting, because being drugged against his will with these big pharma chemicals, we don't even really fully know what they do. Let's see what the rest of the comment goes on to say. So she says, it was all really traumatic and not at all helpful, when I was down. It is a screwed up law. They treat you terribly, and people can just make things up to get you committed. If I hadn't challenged the second order, I would have never known about the untrue statements about me that were on those forms. And this happened to Brittany too, since this all stemmed from a Brittany video. I do just want to add, they said Brittany had dementia in a court filing. In a court filing, they checked a box that said dementia. And then they said, we are going to file proof of this alleged dementia. Brittany was 26 years old at the time. We're going to file proof before the hearing. Well, guess what? That never happened. Not in the 14 years, 13, whatever, that she was in that conservatorship did they ever file proof. Never filed proof. Okay, so let's see the next comment. Someone named Chris Blessing. It happened to me, and I am stuck in a California conservatorship. It is psychotic and evil. It is happening to me right now. My family has a lot of money, and I cannot do anything. I do not have the legal right to do anything. And let's pretend Chris Blessing is fake. I don't think he's fake, or she. I don't think he's fake. I think this is truly a real person, because people who are in these situations do look for YouTube videos about it, and I make them. So I believe this person, but let's just pretend this person's full shit and they lied and they made this comment up. It still happens. Even if it didn't happen to this person, I'm promising you, there is at least one person right now in California who has no legal right to do anything, who is in a conservatorship right now, and it's because their family has a lot of money. Maybe they're an inheritor. A lot of times ends up happening where, and I'm not making any allegations about this person, I'm just talking about general statements. A lot of times what happens is there will be one family member in like a rich family who is kind of defiant. They are defiant and they don't want to go along with the expectations of what they're supposed to be doing or supposed to be doing. And sometimes that person may end up doing substances or participating in substances, even not even having a problem, not even having, necessarily an addiction, but just someone who participates in substances. And then the rich family will say, oh no, that's irresponsible. They're going to blow the fortune. We got to protect our fortune. And it turns into money being more important than the family members. And I'm using these disclaimers because I don't know. Anybody can make an account and say anything on YouTube. I really have to use a disclaimer and say, I don't know for sure if these comments are necessarily true or whatever. But I personally do believe Chris is in a conservatorship. And it is psychotic and evil. It is psychotic and evil. I have no idea how not more people are outraged about this. And actually, I do. I have a big idea how. The reason people aren't outraged about it is because all the people that are publicly in conservatorships have public PR propaganda put out against them to make us think, the collective consciousness think, that must be okay. There's judges involved. There's doctors involved. The family's almost always involved in the smear campaign against the person. And so the general public is like, well, that person's just unhinged and that can never happen to me. So yeah, let's lock them up. But it does happen to normal people. It happens to not famous people. And it also happens to people who are not rich. It can happen to anyone. There is a massive financial incentive. There's an entire economy that runs, it's a trafficking economy. It's literally called body brokering. And people have been brokering bodies since the dawn of civilization. This is just the new iteration. This is the new mutation. It's evolved. And I do think people are going to wake up to it. My concern is that they're going to wake up to it way too late. Then we're going to have millions of people in these conservatorships, in these guardianships, in these involuntary psychiatric incarceration situations. Then what? When they come for you, there's no one left to fight. Let's go to the next one. BJW says, I have been forced against my will also multiple times. It's horrendous that it is allowed to 5150 anyone. I don't wish it on my worst enemy. I cannot believe that we can put someone for so long, not only in an incarcerated state, not only where they cannot leave and it's against their will, but also drug them with many pharmaceuticals. And the law allows the doctors to force them to stay if they can convince a judge. And look, we saw from the first commenter, Lucky, a lot of times the doctors don't even lay eyes on the person. That's what happened with Brittany. The judge herself, Reva Gates, didn't even lay eyes on Brittany before deciding that she needed a conservatorship. And that's how it happened. Has anything happened to Reva Gates? No, nothing's going to happen to her. She's over there at the Beverly Hills Bar Association making speeches on a panel. All right, now we have one from Sarah. And now Sarah is in Florida. What do we know about Florida? The Florida Shuffle. Sarah says, I live in Florida. And my mom Baker acted me when I was 13 for 3 days. I am 38 and I am still traumatized from it. So I can only imagine how these people who are adults and are held against their will for several years, and I think she means must feel. And yeah, I mean, look, this had such a profound, lasting effect on this person that this happened like 25 years ago. Baker acted for 3 days and I'm 38 and still traumatized from it. And that's another thing that I want to address and add. Sometimes people put their kids in these Baker Act and these 5150s and these troubled teen camps and these turnabout ranch type things, thinking it's going to help. I do believe that many parents genuinely believe that it is going to help. Oh my God, I forgot to tell y'all about this. I was at the mall the other day. What mall was it? Oh, I don't remember. Hold on. Let me call Prem, see what mall it was.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey. Yeah.
What mall were we at the other day that had all those rehab?
Freehold Mall?
Was that Freehold we were at?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
It was a Saturday?
Saturday around 2 o'clock.
Okay. Love you.
I love you.
Bye. Okay. So we were at the Freehold Mall in, I guess, Freehold, New Jersey. And you know how like sometimes they'll have like tables set up, like it kind of looked like a college fair, like, or a job fair, how they have all those tables and it's like different companies at each one. I'm not good at guesstimating how many numbers of things there were, but I would venture to say like at least 20 different table booths set up in the middle of the mall on a Saturday during peak shopping hours, like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 1 o'clock, somewhere in that range, full of nothing but different rehabs and sober livings and treatment centers. And there was all these little squishy balls and items and things you could take, pamphlets, and everybody was just standing up at it. And I was like, just thinking through like the logistical operations of like how that had to happen. Like, how do we reach a point in our society where people are spending money, prime real estate in the middle of the mall, tons of people, it was like a festival. There was a stage set up. There was going to be bands coming later in the day. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And not only was it like, if you're struggling, like here, take a pamphlet. No, most of what I saw was like, do you have a loved one who's struggling? Here's our pamphlets for the youths, 13 to 18 or whatever. And I was just like, I could imagine someone who doesn't know what we know over here on this channel about how the whole thing works, walking through there and being like, oh, my kid needs help. Look at these nice smiling professionals with their beautiful pamphlets and their pretty shirts with embroidery on it or whatever. Like, I'm going to send my kid there. It was shocking. It was shocking. I even was like, I need to make a video about this, but I didn't want to, record in the middle of the mall or whatever. I should have. Now, knowing that I was going to make this video, I would have definitely took some pictures, but maybe I did. Let me check. Maybe I did take pictures. It does feel like something I would have done.
Later that day,
I guess I didn't take a picture. But anyway, the whole point of that story was for me to tell y'all that a lot of those booths and their materials at the booths were not aimed at getting your own damn self help. It was aimed at getting a loved one or a family member help from these presumably very expensive rehabs and sober homes and things. And that's because a lot of times insurance will pay for it. Now, a lot of mental health treatment started having to be covered whenever Obamacare was passed, which was now close to 10 years ago. And I don't even want to get into speculating whether or not that was the intended effect. Regardless if it was the intent, now there's a lot of insurance money up for grabs by a lot of things that previously were not covered by insurance, medical insurance, health insurance, you know what I mean? So it's a big mess, and they are targeting people based on, having family members who might need to go to rehab. I wanted this video to be like 15 minutes long. I'm already 30 minutes into recording. So this next comment is absolutely mind-blowing. Again, take with grain of salt, but I believe it. Okay, so Video Say So says, I used to work for the largest mental health care group in Central and Southern Florida. So we're back to Florida shuffle territory. And I can tell you that if people knew how unstable and literally insane therapists and psych professionals are, they wouldn't go to them. Okay, I want to stop right there. I want to say that's a general statement. Obviously, there are at least some psych professionals and mental health professionals who are great and who have helped people, who have probably helped some of y'all. So, of course, there are exceptions to every single thing, one way, other way. I can't even pretend to know what the general is, right, to even make an exception. But this person worked for the largest mental health care group in Central and Southern Florida. So they do have some insight that I don't have. So let's see what they go on to say. I had a program manager that used to enjoy getting the clients all upset. Then he would turn them toward the support staff to deal with. He took medication samples and was a horrible person on top of being an awful manager. The people that should have been helping the clients treated them like garbage. They have far too much input in legal cases and are a dangerous thing to trust in any arena. It was so bad, I was going to call an investigative reporting show. I saw them misdiagnose children so Medicaid would pay for it. See what I just told y'all about the whole thing about the whole insurance and all that? Well, this Medicaid. This is not the same thing as the marketplace insurance that you buy, but you can get Medicaid on the marketplace if you qualify, but that's beside the point. So they say children, little kids, children who frankly cannot consent to anything. Like they're relying on their parents to consent. And then the poor parents, most of them probably think they're doing what's best for their kid. And the doctors are misdiagnosing them, according to this comment of this person who says they worked there. They wouldn't tell the doctor about it. So this is what I don't understand this part. And it's just because I don't understand how it works, I think. So they say, I saw them misdiagnose children so Medicaid would pay for it. But I guess that's the professionals and the therapists. They wouldn't tell the doctor about it half the time. And then the doctor would prescribe medication for the diagnosis codes in the chart, which were wrong. So the therapists or the psych professionals would make a diagnosis, which according to this person was intentionally incorrect for the purpose of getting Medicaid to pay for the treatment. And then the doctor would not know that it was a misdiagnosis. And then the doctor would prescribe a medication for that diagnosis that the kid didn't even have. So you're pumping this kid full of pharmaceuticals that they truly, truly don't need because they don't even qualify for the diagnosis. Shocking, but not surprising. Don't trust these people. They're crazy and I will never work with them again. Chip Sweaters said, "This happened to me. I am a rational adult with no mental illnesses. I got into an argument with the emergency room nurse over how they were disrespecting me. Next thing I know, I'm being wheeled off to a loony bin. And when they saw that I had a holy insurance package, they forced me to stay for 2 weeks." This is how they act. You want to disrespect the hospital staff? Well, you're going to be hauled off for 2 weeks against your will. Now, should you be being mean and rude to anybody out here in the world trying to help you? Should you be being mean and rude to them? No, of course not. But this argument, according to the comment, seems to have actually arisen from the ER disrespecting the patient. Of course, again, I wasn't there and I really don't know, but this can happen and it does happen. No mental illnesses, which even if you have mental illnesses, you should not be taken against your will with no due process, no equal protection, incarcerated, and not allowed to leave. That is a prison. That should not happen. I don't know how that still happens. It shouldn't. And that's why I make these videos. We have to do something about it. So Poison Oak says, "You're so right, BJ. I used to live in Florida. And if you piss someone off and they wanted to get you, they could just call the police and say that you're in danger of harming yourself and or another person, blah, blah, blah. Boom, Baker Act." And literally moved back to New York because I was scared of getting Baker acted. Because yes, I am a little bit 730, but people should not be using the system to get back at each other. I don't know what that means. Yes, I'm a little bit 730. Is that slang for something? Or is that a typo? What is 730? Let me see if Urban Dictionary has any insights. Oh, huh. Okay. So it means crazy. I bet you it's a code for something. I bet you some state has a 730 statute. Okay, I'll show y'all what I'm looking at here. Let me show y'all. So I looked up a little bit 730 Urban Dictionary, and it says, in case you're wondering what 730 means, it's a police code. Oh yeah, police code. Okay. A police code referencing to a person that is crazy or suffers from a mental disorder. Looks like it is a possibly a rap reference. I'm looking up police code 730. So 730 is a New York criminal procedure, section 730.30, fitness to proceed, order of examination. Okay, learn something new every day. I knew it had to be a statute or a code of some sort. Let me see. Let's go back to our picture. So they say, yeah, I am a little bit 730, which I'm going to take to mean I do have mental health diagnoses and struggles from time to time. That's what I'm going to take that to mean. And they go on to say, but people should not be using the system to get back at each other. And that really goes down. Thankfully, never to me, but I have seen it happen. I know people that died over it, being thrown in prison, ripping medication away from people, then giving them other medication, taking people who are physically dependent and just locking them up in cages and letting them withdraw. I know several people that this has happened to. Heed this woman's warning. I think that's me, my warning. And good for you going back at Lou Taylor. I love Brittany and hope she can find some peace. Thank you for your input. Love you, BJ. Love you too. Mina, bye. Okay, I think I have one more and then that'll be all for that. Now, Ask 8613, and this was just this morning, this comment was left. She says, same, but I got lucky. A fellow veteran was a social worker there, and she got me out in 2 days. Now we're talking about veterans, and we already know from the Blind Justice saga how they be acting over there at those veteran centers. They will take you and put you in the 5150. They will put you in the Baker and the Marchman and the whatever they got to do. They will put you right away and then probably put you on drugs and experiment on you. I don't know. That's speculation. Never happened to me. She says, I've been afraid to go to the hospital or in-person therapy ever since. It was traumatizing and so weird. Half the patients thought I was staff. I walked away from finishing my psych and counseling matters. I can't even go back in the medical facility that did this to me. And I have other major health issues that need to be addressed. Oh yeah, it happened with some nurse and social worker at the VA hospital. The outside place they sent me to made a fat check each day I was there and did not want to release me. Without that veteran social worker inside helping me, I probably would have been there at least a week. This is how it happens. These are just normal people. These are just people from the comments, just like you, watching my video, talking about their experiences and what they've seen. It's very shocking, but it's not surprising. This video is already a lot longer than I expected it to be. I thought there was going to be like a 15-minute video. Clearly not. That's all I really had for today on this matter. In the meantime, facts ain't defamation. Love you, mean it, K, bye.